stand. I hope you're doing very well. I think this is going to be a cracking show. I hope you're looking forward to it. I certainly am. We've got lots to talk about. We're going to start off with a double transfer blow for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And look, it relates to Jack Grealish and Gedson Fernandes. Look, are United in for these players? How long is a piece of string? You never seem to know. But what I would say is that the Aston Villa manager has come out and said that you can look but you can't touch. Sounds a bit kinky, but he's talking about Jack Grealish. He basically accepting that there are a lot of players interested in him, but he's not available, and other clubs can look but they can't touch. And what I would say about this straight away is that what a load of crap. What a load of crap. I mean, look, it's like, when people say, it's my pride and joy, it's almost part of the family, they're not for sale, I've grown to love them over the time. Every wife has a price, and I tell you what, Jack Grealish has got a price. But this is the rhetoric or the mantra that United fans have to swallow these days. When Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is coming out and saying there is money there, but it's about the right place or it's the right price. I mean, what does Ole Gunnar Solskjaer do on a Friday night? Does he walk into a pub, gasping for a pint of lager, and he walks to the bar and he says, I've got the money, I want a pint of lager, but it better be Carling, and I'm not paying any more than £4 a pint. I'm sorry, Ollie, we're out of Carling. We've got a rubbisher beer. It's a cheaper price. We've got Amstel at £2 a pint. We're doing a special offer. Or you can get a Peroni at £5. We've got loads of lagers. No, I'll walk out thirsty with my money in my pocket. I only want Carling. It's got to be the right price and the right pint. I'm not interested in better lagers or cheaper lagers. It's got to be the right one. You look like you really wanted a drink. I did, but I've got my principles. I'm walking out. And this is United's problem. They live in such a one-track mind. I want this player and I'm not going to pay any more than this. You get Aston Villa coming out saying, you can't have Jack Grealish. You're not having Jack Grealish. He's not available at any price. What a crock of rubbish. It's a load of nonsense because everybody's got a price. Everybody's got a price. Who remembers that film from the 80s, Indecent Proposal? I really love my wife. She's not. You could offer me any money to have a night with her, and I wouldn't do it. £1 million. Well, off you go. But you said you love me. I do. I'll take you back tomorrow, but I've got £1 million. And that's it. Everybody's got a price. Jack Grealish has got a price. Aston Villa, I mean, actually, I would almost take that as flirting. If I was I would take that as being in a nightclub, and I'm not going to be gender specific here. For me, it'd be a woman. For you, it might be a man. Who knows? But if I was in a nightclub and I saw somebody I quite fancied, and they were like, "Oh, I'm not interested, but you can buy me a drink," I'd think, well, here we go. I've seen this all before. You want a drink, we get talking, the Goldbridge banter, and we have a great time. And I think that's what's going on. I think the Aston Villa manager talking about Jack Grealish and saying, he's not available. Well, go in there with a £60 million bid and see what they're going to do. Because I tell you what, Aston Villa are probably going to get relegated and they're going to need the money. And if we offer a little bit over, we'll get him. It's as simple as that. Hi, Mark. It's my birthday. I'm sitting with the Wolves tomorrow. Where can I find Flex to do a fan cam tomorrow? Score predictions chasing. He'll be out and about somewhere. I don't know for the away games. It's hard to say. Same Miassi says, Mark, I saw a video the abuse Flex got at the Arsenal game after the match is disgraceful. We'll talk about that in a bit. Jacob Sands, hi Mark, if we sign 2 midfielders, would you also sign someone with experience for the young attack? And what 3 players would you sign this January? Jacob, I'll tell you now, I don't want to disappoint you, we're not going to sign 3 players in January. And do you think Pogba is coming across as injury prone to lower his transfer value, says RV7777? That's an interesting theory. I'd never give it much thought, to be honest with you. And Ray Crowley says, we signed no one, 4 weeks on Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, and now January the 4th, the board let us down again, and window just opened, they won't spend. Well, look, that's Grealish. I would take Grealish because, I mean, at the end of the day, Joan Grealish would be better than Lingard and Mata and Pereira, to be honest with you. So Jack's a massive improvement. I should have said Jack and Jill. But Jill Grealish would be better. Let's forget I didn't say Joan. But the second blow, potentially, is Gedson Fernandes, because I would say we were never in for Gedson Fernandes, to be honest with you. 20-year-old midfielder for Benfica, surplus to requirements, representatives in England. We've heard all that this week. Sky Sports breaking it. Sky Sports talking about it. Sky Sports were the ones who broke about Dan James and Longstaff and Wan-Bissaka, so they have got some credibility around United. We must not dismiss it. However, West Ham are apparently the team he wants to go to, and David Moyes has confirmed this afternoon that they are in for him. And you know what? I don't know whether United were in for Jedson Fernandes. Let's pretend that they weren't, but you have to ask the question, why not? If West Ham are openly looking for a player because they need a midfielder and they're making moves, and I tell you, I really fear what United are doing is, oh, please get me Sean Longstaff. He's shit, Ollie. Why do we want him? I just really think he's going to be the problem. He's from Newcastle and he plays in the role that Carrick used to. So we think he might be the next Carrick. Right, do you think Carrick could work in the modern game? I don't know, but he was a good player 10 years ago. All right, Ollie, let's try and get him. They won't sell. They won't sell, Ollie. Oh, but I only want Longstaff. What about Bruno Fernandes? No, I just want Longstaff. What about Babukar Samore? No, I don't want him. Ooh, what about Emre Can? No, I want Longstaff. Okay, I can't get him for you. Well, you've got no one there. Grealish is a Villa fan. He won't leave without helping them stay up this season, says Max P. Well, I'm not going to expand on this anymore other than to say that there was some rumours going around this evening, and I live in the Midlands, and it wasn't like walking on the street and people were muttering it out loud and I heard it. Like, there are some rumours. I live in the Midlands, I know a lot of Villa fans, and there are some rumours that Grealish wants to go to Manchester United in January, and he would put a bit of pressure on Villa to let him go if United put enough of a pressure on Villa for the right value. So the thing is, though, if I got hold of Jack Grealish now, and I'm not going to say I'm going to kidnap him or anything like that. I do know where he lives, but I'm not going to do it. You're all right, Jack. I'm not going to do it. I respect you. But Jack Grealish is almost an irrelevance unless he forces a move, which I think he respects Villa too much to do that. What United need to do in these situations, January transfer window is not a challenge, right? It's not. It's harder because it's shorter. That's the point. It's smaller, and that makes it harder. I'm talking about transfer windows here, anything more sinister. So you've got less time to do it. It's also in the middle of the season, so clubs don't really like to do business in the middle of the season because if they sell someone, they've got less. It's harder for them to get someone in. Money talks in January. It literally opens its mouth and shouts at people. Van Dijk went from Southampton, Laporte came to Man City. You can do business in January. It's a myth to say that you can't, but money talks. You have to pay a little bit more than you would in the summer because it's not the end of the season, which is the natural time for people to move. If you offer the money that makes Villa think about it, you've got Jack Grealish. Because I think as soon as Villa go to Jack Grealish and say, look, we've had an offer we want to accept, do you want to go to Man United? He'll go, see you later. I really respect the club. I'm off to Old Trafford. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to offer the price. You've got to offer the money. Do you think Pogba will be swapped for Tony Kroos, says Jagbur? I hope not. I don't want Tony Kroos. I really don't want Tony Kroos. Abdullah Atani, does anyone believe that Rashford's world class? I just don't see that he has no vision. His decision making is suspect. Dribbles when he's supposed to pass. I think one day he will be world class. Rashford's not world class. Carl Rayner says, Mark, we need to sign before we let go of anyone else. It's shocking that we are paper thin as a squad and we want to have this only the right player mentality. Burgers can't be choosers. I think he means beggars. Burgers can't be choosers. Well, they can't if you're going to eat them, but I think he means beggars. Mark, would Grealish and McGinn be good signings, says Mojo. I tell you what, McGinn would be a terrible signing because he's injured for 3 months. Welcome to Bujbar, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club, and Abdullah's back again. He says, I woke up and saw Transfer Daily that United are linked with Bubukari Simari. Please tell me we're signing a central midfielder. Please don't let it be another Bruno Fernandes situation. And Jordan Such in the house, Jordan, respect, says, let's be honest, Mark, don't pay 60 million for Bruno Fernandes, a midfielder, which we are crying out for, but pay 80 million for Maguire. Anyone would think we are going for British players, which would lead us to Longstaff and Rice 100%. You know what? Look, we're all geniuses in hindsight, and I don't have a problem with Harry Maguire, but somebody did say to me today, imagine if we'd spent the 80 million we spent on Harry Maguire on Bruno Fernandes and just played Smalling and Lindelof. It's food for thought. I don't get why almost every United fan want Lindelof replaced with Twansebi. Lindelof has been your best centre-back this season, but your fans is blind because Maguire is English and cost 80 million. That's from Charlie. That is interesting. I think Lindelof has been better than Maguire this season, and I would argue it with anybody. Doesn't mean I'm right, but I do agree with you. Ethan Hamilton's been called back from loan, typical of United and Ollie. Talk about youth and actual pocketing money. So we're not signing anyone this January, says Neil Kohler. I'm not actually going to feed the conspiracy there. Ethan Hamilton has been sent back from loan by Southend because he's not been doing particularly well. He's going to go on loan again. He will not be part of the United setup. He's not very good. He was never very good. But interestingly, on the midfield situation, can I just tell you this, because a lot of you might not be aware of this. McTominay's out for 3 months. Pogba's out for a month. We've got Matic and Fred, but beyond Matic and Fred, we don't have Garner and Levitt. because they're both injured as well. James Garner and Dylan Levitt are injured. They're not part of the squad for the Wolves game, and they're both injured. So it's not even the better players are injured. The players, we have no depth in the midfield. You cannot. It is like a Formula One racing car having to do races and they've only got 2 wheels. It's not about it would be nice. It must be the right player at the right price. We need 2 wheels. We need to buy. I don't care. I do care who it is because there are decent options out there. But for the love of God, sign some bloody players, you tight prats. We need to sign players. It's as simple as that. We do need to sign players, and it's not about if, when, or maybe. It's about essentially we have to. We've got to spend the money. And in many ways, I'm very unhappy that Pogba and McTominay are injured, but we are forced to sign midfielders, and this has to happen. It has to happen. So, yeah, Grealish, I don't buy into this. I mean, it looks like we're not going to get Jedson Fernandes. To be honest with you, I was a little bit dubious about that signing. I'd take him every day of the week over Longstaff. I feel that we're going for Longstaff. I think a lot of people feel like that as United fans, and it worries me. It does worry me. I don't want Longstaff, but I feel that that's the path that we are going down. But with Grealish, I feel that United almost want Villa to say he's not for sale when he is, because everyone's got a price. Can anyone remember the A-team with B.A. Baracus? I ain't getting on no plane. There's £1 million. I'm getting on that plane. You know, everybody's got a price. I don't want to get in a cage and go down and look with great white sharks. I feel my destiny is to be eaten by a great white shark, so I avoid any situation that's going to put me anywhere near a great white shark. You don't really get great white sharks in Skegness, but I won't go in any deeper than knee length because I just think I'll be the unlucky twat because of destiny who goes waist length and gets devoured by a fucking 20-foot great white shark. I just don't put myself in situations where I can be eaten by a shark. Even big puddles I avoid, and canals. But the reality, well, you never know. But if somebody said to me, if you go down in that cage where there are great white sharks and we'll chuck a load of blood down there to make them come round your cage, not in that way, I mean swim around it, and we're going to give you £1 million, I'd be going, I ain't getting on no cage. I'm not going on no cage. There's £1 million. It's in your bank account. Give me some oxygen. I'm going down. And even if the little twats, I don't know why they'd be little. I'm not imagining a Hobbit boat tour around South Africa with cages. But even if they, they break the cage and you fall down to the bottom and you've only got half an hour of oxygen and they go away, I would still swim for it and think, well, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I'm a millionaire. Everybody's got a price. Everyone's got a price. Palmarius says, to everyone at United stand, ignore the hatred and keep up the good work. The MSM are scared and so are rival channels. The mainstream media, MSM, I see what you mean there. Our presence makes them jealous, says Palmaris. I mean, you know what? I love what the United stand is. If people don't like it, it's a bit like Songs of Praise. Don't bloody watch it. Like, nobody's begging you to come on. It's free. It's YouTube. Watch it if you want. Don't watch it if you don't want to do it. It's that simple. Life is that simple. I don't see why there's so much hate and division. I really don't. But shout out to South Africa, says Durban Boy. Exactly. Please do smash a like on the video. I love the Friday night show. I have had a gin. I think it's obvious. But yeah, I do love the Friday night show. It's a little bit more chilled out, isn't it? So yeah, look, why are the right players not the only option, says Rodney Singh. I don't know. But the reality is, the positive I would give you tonight is we've got to sign players. And if we don't, then instead of arguing amongst ourselves, I think something needs to be happening at this football club anyway. I think either the football club needs to open dialogue with real proper fans, which I think we've got plenty of in the United Stand community, or fans need to start doing something about it. And instead of sitting down for a cosy I know that bloody fanzine did it a couple of months ago. They sat down with Ed Woodward, and I know for a fact that he only sat down with questions that he knew the answers to. That's not what Manchester United need. You are in a position of you are lucky. You are people who are in a position where you're not respected and you don't deserve respect. And you should be craving our respect as Manchester United fans, and you should be treating us like the royalty that we are. United fans are the lifeblood of this football club, and you treat us like shit on your shoe. And you should be listening. And I tell you what, I speak to United fans all the time, and their knowledge of football players, not only in Europe but around the world, is bang on. I've said this so many times. Fabinho was a player we were talking about. You can search Fabinho United stand. I'll guarantee we've got a video from 4 years ago, 2 years before he even went to Liverpool, saying how perfect he'd be for United. The same with Lozano. The amount of players that get mentioned on here miles before anybody knows anything about them, and our recruitment department don't ever get near them. Benji says the lack of a proper technical coach since Louis van Gaal will hamper the development of any young player at United. Blood and guts football won't cut it. Exactly, I agree with that. We need midfielders without question. Do you feel we need a striker, even with Greenwood on form? If you do what you think right for the team, we do need a striker, Ray. And we were going to sign a striker in Erling Haaland, and I think he would have been a very interesting signing. But people move on very, very quickly from this, don't they? Because it's a memory. It's like a paper cut. It hurts at the time, it heals, and you move on. But the reality is, you should never forget that paper cut, because it happened for a reason, and that paper cut happened because Edward was useless, and we blew a chance to bring in a player that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer desperately wanted. He wanted Erling Haaland. He knew everything about him. He had him at Mulder. He wanted him, and the club didn't deliver. It's one of the biggest failures of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's managerial career, and he's had a few, but not getting Erling Haaland was just a huge, huge L. And that was our plan for January, was to sign Erling Haaland, nobody else. The McTominay injury and the Pogba injury, because Pogba was going to come back like a new signing, has forced us to now not get the player that we wanted to go and get a midfielder. But we do need midfielders. Mark, I bumped into Aaron Wan-Bissaka entering a nightclub in Manchester at 1:30 a.m. on Saturday. Thoughts? Is this Ollie being a weak manager? Sam Braun. Well, I've got no way to know whether that happened, Sam. I've got no way to know whether that happened. Grealish and Ward-Prowse would be good signings, says Aman Chabra. I mean, Ward-Prowse is a good player. I don't know whether he's a Manchester United player, but he's a good player. But I do feel with Grealish and Maddison, you've got two players there that will be top six players. With Ward-Prowse, I'm not so sure, to be honest with you. Abdullah says, what about Dembele? Is there any truth in that? We need a striker. He's not going to be sold, Abdullah. Mainstream media are scared from fan channels because in the future, instead of watching Match of the Day, people will tune into their favourite fan channels, and Sky and BT will lose viewers, says Abdullah. Extreme Gaming says, Mark, you're the biggest flip-flop. Earlier in the season, you said we can't, I'll tell you what, I'll sort out your English for you, even though you're slagging me off, because what you actually say is, you said we can't good sign players. But I know what he's actually saying. Even though you're slagging me off, I'm actually going to grammatically correct your super chat. That's the sort of nice guy I am, even though you're slagging me off. So let me just change his words about so it makes English sense. Mark, you're the biggest flip-flop. Earlier in the season, you said, and this is where I have to correct it, we can't sign good players because clubs won't let them go. But now you're moaning. Sort it, says Extreme Gaming. Well, no, I'm not a flip-flop, because everything I say actually makes sense in my mind. It just doesn't make sense in yours. But what I said was, I know what I said, because I remember what I said. I said after this, I was in a very petulant, pissed off mood after the summer transfer window. You know what? I was almost like that little boy who doesn't get what he wants for Christmas, and when he gets another nice present, he throws it and says he doesn't want it, and he gets sent to his room. When really you do want that present, you're just pissed off you didn't get the one you wanted. That's what I was like. So I said petulant things, and what I actually said is I was so pissed off with last summer's transfer window not signing midfielders that when people kept saying to me, what about January? I was still sore about the summer transfer window. So I just was like, I don't want to talk about January. You can't sign players in January. It's hard to sign players in January, because I was still pissed off about the summer. But in fairness, that was petulance from me, and I'll put my hand up. I was pissed off, but I'll still stand by what I said. In January, what did I say 10 minutes ago? It's hard to sign players in January if you want to get them at a fair price. And this is why it's hard for United to sign players in January, because our owners are tighter than a camel's arse in a sandstorm. They don't want to spend money. But if you're Man City or you're Chelsea and you want to buy players in January, it's rather straightforward, because they will pay the price to get the player. So you can sign players in January, you've just got to pay the price. But there are tiers to this. And they're probably going to be our tiers on January the 31st when we sign Sodall. But there are tiers to this. You're not getting James Maddison because he plays for Leicester and they're going for top 4 and Leicester do not need to sell. And they're not poor. You're not going to get Jadon Sancho unless Dortmund want to sell, which they probably don't. You can get Jack Grealish because Villa don't want to sell because they're in a relegation battle, but Villa also have money problems. So if you pay over the price, you will get Jack Grealish. You can get some players if you overpay for them, which is what United need to do. It's the old burgers can't be choosers or beggars can't be choosers scenario. So you can do it. Jordan Such says, also, can't we leave it till the last week of this transfer window to buy a midfielder? Also, no, he says, also, we can't leave it till the last week of the transfer window to buy a midfielder. Important games coming up. We're in no position to let games just drift by in January. Just get a midfielder now and not in 3 weeks. And again, Jordan Such has come out with Jordan, you've come out with such a good comment there. You see what I did? He's come out with such a good comment there because I haven't even thought about this. Even I've not thought about it. This January transfer window comes around every year. You know, it's not a surprise. It's not like you're in the middle of bloody June and then suddenly the government say, it's January now. You didn't prepare for it. Every year, it's October, November, December, January, right? So you know it's coming. Why have we not bought players right at the start of the month? Liverpool did it, Mina Morna, or Minamino, and why are we now? This is typical United. We're so not prepared for January that comes round every single year. It's there. It starts in the autumn. September, November, October, December, January. There it is. It's there. Right there for you. And you're right. We've got Wolves tomorrow in the Cup. We're going to have to play Matic and Fred for the however manyth game we're going to have to do that. And then 3 days later, we're playing Man City in a Cup game as well. So we're not going to get midfielders in for these games. So if they do come in at the end of January, you're absolutely spot on. There are important games right here, right now. And who sang it? DJ Slim, Fat Slim. What's his name? Can't remember his name. Right here, right now, right here, right now. I think I was right the first time. Was it DJ Slim? Slim DJ. I don't remember his bloody name is. Fat Boy Slim. Don't feel confident in our club to do. I'm right though. Don't feel confident in any club to do any business this window. Ollie says looking at 1 or 2 means no business till the summer, says Jason Cleaver. I don't think the club have much credibility as it is. If they come out of this January transfer window with no midfielders, they're going to keep... The thing is, I can't say this. I can't say if we don't sign midfielders in January, they're finished. The Glazers will be out by February the 2nd because fans just won't turn up. Of course they're going to turn up. What will happen is the club will lose money because interest in the club is dropping. I know it's dropping. I speak to fans. I look at your comments. Fans are becoming disillusioned. They won't buy shirts. They won't buy merchandise. They won't do stadium tours as much as they were. Positivity makes money. Positivity makes growth. Negativity will create lowering of expectations and apathy. And apathy means money's not being spent. So we will lose money if they don't, which is what they deal in. Ezra for PM says, I think that the transfers of LVG first season and Jose first of majority flop players, Di Maria, Falcao and Pogba, Lindelof, a factor of our owners being tight. Also, how would you compare Gill to Woodward? Well, comparing Gill to Woodward is rather like comparing a glass of absolutely on the money, absolutely superb champagne and a pint of piss. That's how you compare Gill, the champagne, and Ed Woodward. I'm sorry, they're just poles apart. Abdullah, I nearly said it's like comparing the South Pole with the North Pole, but to be honest with you, I think they're much of a much. They're both full of snow. Abdullah Altani says, Ed Woodward always says we won't be held to ransom by other clubs, and he's going on about it's got to be the right player that fits our project. I'm beginning to believe this is all a big smoke screen. You're finally getting on page, Abdullah. And I hate Ed and the Glazers, but we have net spend second to Man City. That is second in the last 10 years. What are we missing here, says Manu Expedith? Competence. We're missing competence. We're missing football people. We're missing a director of football. Because, anybody can spend money. You look at these clowns over the years, and I don't mean literal clowns, I mean plonkers, who have won the national lottery. And there are stories of people who've won 16 million. Like 16 million pounds. You're working in Tesco or wherever. Let's not be Tescoist. You might work at Sainsbury's. You might be an accountant. You might be a dustbin man. Whatever. You might be unemployed. If you win £16 million, you should never work again. You should make that money work for you. You should buy yourself a nice house. You're set for life. But there are stories. You see them in the Sun. I won 16 million 3 months ago and now I'm in debt. Because idiots with money make idiotic decisions. And I think that's what the situation is with United. You're absolutely bang on. When you look at the net spend over the last 10 years, it's way up there compared to people like Liverpool and Chelsea who have been more successful than us. But we've got plonkers spending the money. Spending the money is not the caveat to success. It's the people who spend the money. Like, I would trust most of you lot with our net spend over. If we went 10 years ago and I gave you the money that's been spent, I guarantee you lot would spend it a lot better. Even if I did a brain wipe and you didn't have the advantage of hindsight, I think you would buy different players. I never would have bought Schneiderlin. I wouldn't have bought Schweinsteiger, and he's one of my favourite players because he was old. I wouldn't have bought Di Maria. I wouldn't have probably bought... There's a few players. I mean, I'd have to see the list, but I wouldn't have bought a lot of the players. What is our worst Man United paying too high wages or too high transfer fee? I feel the wages has biggest impact on future sales. Harder to sell against, says Fred the Red. I think what we spend on wages is ridiculous, by the way. It's absolutely ridiculous. You compare what Liverpool play their back four to what we pay our back four. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And this is the thing. You know, United, we overpay on wages. We've sort of... It's almost sabotage what United have done, because we're the biggest club in the world, with the greatest story ever told. We've got the best fans in the world. We've got the best ground in England. You know, we've got absolutely everything going for us. We've got the biggest revenue. We've got everything to be successful. But we overpay for shit that we can't then sell. We don't want to spend that much to buy players, but we give them stupid wages. We buy... It's ridiculous what we do. Some of the decision making is ridiculous. Ollie has been inconsistent for ages now. What makes people think we're going to go for anyone? We're in for another year of getting played around the park by teams like Norwich, Ollie out and Glazers out, says Navola 9B. Mark, after Sir Alex Ferguson retired, the club made a 15 or 20 minute short film and titled it The Greatest Football Story Ever Told. With 6 years, that's been turned into the biggest horror story ever told by our board, says Mojo. And Navola 9B says, we've done that one, haven't we? We have done that one. For some reason, it showed up twice. Jason Cleverly says, I don't feel confident in our club to do any business this window. Ollie says, looking at 1 or 2 means no business till the summer. I think I've read that one, Jason. I think you've had 2 readouts, actually. And George Ramos says, Mark, instead of signing Sean Longstaff, why don't we sign Matty Longstaff? He can't be any worse. I'd take any signing over nothing, otherwise it's done. I would take his brother and the ginger one, innit? And Abdullah's back. He says, I believe when we signed Ollie, he tried to get us playing like Liverpool, but then he realised he didn't have the fullbacks or midfielders, hence, as you call it, relegation football. I could talk to you all night about Ollie. I could talk to you all night about Ollie, but I mean, look, whatever you think about him, I said this 2 nights ago, I feel that he's hamstrung because he's cheap and he doesn't have much of a bar. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can't bang on Ed Woodward's door and say, do this, do that, because he hasn't got the CV for it. He's a work experience guy. United need somebody that Woodward can't bully. And I'm not saying he's bullying Ollie in the sense that Ollie's going home crying, but I mean, Woodward's got the power at that club. We need a manager who's got the power over Woodward. And we nearly had it with Mourinho, but I think Mourinho was so desperate to take the job, he made concessions. I believe we've read that one, and Jay Sav says, Mark, you're a flip-flop. Trust the board and Ollie. It's better to keep faith and wait for the right players than panic buy and overpay for average players. I'm not going to reply to you, Jay Sav. I think you'll get enough stick in the live comments. Anyway, Lingard and Martial. If you watch the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer press conference reaction this morning, Ollie spoke about 2 players that were not injured but were not training today. So that's Lingard and Martial. So if Lingard's not playing tomorrow, good. If Martial's not playing tomorrow, I don't know what our front 3 will be. I imagine it'll be Greenwood, Rashford and James. But let's not forget, we've played so many games over Christmas. And there will be a lot of teams this weekend who don't play their first team, but aren't playing again till next weekend in the Premier League. Remember, we're playing Man City on Tuesday night. And yet again, we're probably going to pick a strong team against Wolves and a strong team against Man City. Ollie is picking virtually the same team every 3 days. There is no rotation because he has no options to rotate. And it's going to be a problem for us. At this moment in time, I'm pretty worried for where United's season's going to end up, to be honest with you. Ollie, I've got to do the positive stuff. Don't ever let people accuse me of not being even-handed. Let's be honest, letting Herrera go cost us top 4, says Rudy Cox. High five. I totally agree with you on that one. Please do smash a like on the video, everybody. We're nearly at 1,000 likes already. I love the Friday night show. It's always fast-paced and interactive. I can't stand Arteta ball tweets by Arsenal fans, says Kartix. A lot of Arsenal fans are mildly cretinous, to be fair. Thanks for the contribution, Sam David. Don't leave us hanging. Tell us what happened to Flex and Rants, says Abdullah Atani. I will talk to that in a moment. And Ollie was exciting last year before March. To me, I have seen all he can do. He might be a good striker coach. Martial Rashford got better, but he can't manage in the Premier League. I'm from Norway and I say Ollie out, says Nemo Darfish. Well, you are the first Norwegian I've seen say Ollie out. But I think you're right. I love what you said there, because I'd argue with anybody that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has improved Rashford and Martial massively this season. But I'd also say he's out of his depth as well. Mark Hemstock says, Ollie said last season that we're building for this season, and now this season we're building for next season. Anyone else feeling mugged off? What a comment! What a comment! I'd forgotten that myself. He did say that last season, we're building for this season, and now he's saying the same again. It's a man who is effectively just trying to, extend his stay, isn't he? It's a bit like being on death row, isn't it? You're there waiting for your lethal injection, and you keep coming up with excuses. And Ollie's not on the death row for murder. I don't want anything sinister like that. Let's just say he weed on a stamp or something like that, which actually probably is an offence because it's got the monarch's head on it. So but look, Ollie's full of contradiction, but he's like a fish on a hook, isn't he? He's flapping round for his life. Ewan Brody says, Mark, why is your bio on the United stand in Latin and Flexes too? We have to sign a midfielder this month, otherwise this season's gone. Ewan, it amazes me how many people get worried about this Latin thing on our website, but it does need changing. And Luke Matheson from Rochdale, can he be considered, had a blinder against us and even scored? I wouldn't have thought so. Let's not be reactionary and start signing players like that. But let me be positive and say, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, some of you might be aware of this, we've nearly got 10,000 people watching, so you may as well share the video if you're watching. Click underneath and share. Share. Does he love me? I want to know. Now share the button, otherwise I'll keep singing share songs. I can't think of any other ones. That's the crap one. What other share? If I could turn back time. Anyway, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is up for Manager of the Month in December. And a lot of people are surprised about this, but actually, he did beat Spurs and Man City, Newcastle and Burnley in December. He also lost to Watford, who won their first home game of the season in December against us. I'll be very surprised if he wins it. I don't feel he deserves it. He's almost compacted all his good results into 1 month, but just wrap it up and give it to Klopp. But he is up for Manager of the Month with Nigel Pearson of Watford and Jurgen Klopp, I think. Actually, I don't know whether Klopp's up for it. It might be Pep. He might bloody win it, which is just another, whatever. Think what you think about that. Why do you think Ollie doesn't play Gomez instead of Lingard, who does nothing all game? Definitely Ollie out if he extends Lingard's contract, says Nigel Rao Shapiali. Well, look, I can't confirm it because the club haven't confirmed it, but I've been told for a long time now that Lingard's new contract has been signed. They're just waiting to announce it at a time where fans aren't going to go apeshit, basically. So I've been told that Lingard's contract is done. They're just waiting for this moment where they can go, Lingard signed, something positive needs to happen, i.e. Lingard makes a good pass or United win a trophy. But they're waiting to announce it at a point where everyone's feeling happy because they're worried that everyone's going to go mad. So Lingard, new contract already done, is what I've been told. They're just waiting. They could be waiting 20 years. It better be a 20-year contract. But Mark, what if Ollie buys 2 second quality players and loses 3 matches in a row? Will he be sacked by the time the window is also closed, says Sam David? I mean, look, that's a good point from Sam, to be honest with you, because if United are to, if United sign players for Ollie and then we keep losing games, you've just spent money on a manager that you're going to sack. And there are some conspiracy theories that we didn't sign Haaland because Haaland wanted guarantees over Ollie and the club wouldn't give it. I looked at the fixtures over the next 2 months this morning and I couldn't see a situation where Ollie gets the sack because there's always a winnable game. Like, even if he gets smashed by Wolves and City, he's got Norwich at home, he should win that. Then if we get beat Liverpool away, he's got Burnley at home, he should win that. There's always a winnable game after maybe a loss. So I think he's all right until I think we've got a run of Chelsea, City and Spurs around February, March time. So let's be honest about Ollie. He's just desperate to keep the United job and will say whatever the board and Woodward tell him to do. Doesn't actually care about us, says Abuka. I think Ollie does care about us. He's a fan of the club. Look, no one's ever going to make me dislike Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I'd always say that. And I even said when we appointed him, I can't ever imagine me saying Ollie out, which is probably one of the reasons I won't do it, because I'm stubborn and petulant, like I've said before. But I'll always love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because no matter what happens, he'll always be the player that I remember and the things that he did. Not just 99, I always loved Ollie, and I still do love Ollie. I just think he's out of his depth. Jose's tactics were textbook and Ollie's a full-on freestyle. We need a manager who has a mix. Ollie leveraged Jose's tactics and succeeded as a caretaker. The team has unlearned all of those tactics now, says Joe and Daniel. I actually think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tactics are very hard to understand. They're almost hypocritical. We sit back and hit on the break, but we do press high up the pitch. That's some sort of fusion that just doesn't work. It's like fusing classical music with hip hop. Neil Fish said, "Welcome to the club. You're the latest member of the United Stand Members Club." And Abdullah's back. He says, "If we sign 3 players, let's say a midfielder and a right winger and a striker, who would you leave out of the starting lineup?" I'm not really bothered about who stays out of the team. I just want competition for places, really. Ajmal Cosman says, "Thanks for this show. Talking the reality is harsh, but we fans can face reality. Ollie's going to get Fred if he does not sign midfielders. Your thoughts?" Ollie's going to get fired if he does not sign midfielders. Your thoughts, Ajmal? Well, one thing's true about this board. There's no loyalty. And that's why Ollie towing the party line, there'll become a point where they'll just sack him. So, you've got to keep your credibility, because one day you're not going to be in a job and the fans might remember you for all the things you did, sticking up for the Glazers and Woodward. So you've got to be careful about that. Ollie's completely out of his depth in every aspect of being United manager. Get Poch in and back him in the transfer market, says Josh Dawkins. I don't necessarily think that's the right thing to do. Ray Cowley, do you think now on Form and history that we should start looking to replace De Gea, as seems to be declining, says Ray Cowley? Well, De Gea's got his new contract. I've got to be honest, I haven't even thought there's an issue with David De Gea. I really haven't. And maybe I'm blind to it, but I haven't. I mean, look, people say I'm blind to Luke Shaw. I don't know how you can be, but he is a player that I like. I think that Luke Shaw is a player that a lot of people don't like, so they scrutinise every mistake he makes. To be honest with you, I probably do the same with Matic and Young, but I do like Luke Shaw, but he played badly against Arsenal and I gave him a low score. De Gea, I don't think there's an issue with De Gea, to be honest with you. What about the Norwich midfielder? I forgot his name. He has really good stats, very consistent, says Abdullah Atani. You talking about Cantwell or the one beginning with B? I personally don't think Norwich midfielders are the way forward for Manchester United, if I'm absolutely honest with you. Rashford got played. I wanted to bring this up. Rashford got picked as Manchester United's Player of the Month last month, and I think Rashford's been really good. But I think it's a shame that we didn't give it to Fred. I think Fred deserved it, to be honest with you. And I've got it wrong, because Big Z Wow says classical music and hip hop is fire. There's been a super chat. Classical music and hip hop fuse well, says Ashley GR. So we need to think of another crap fusion of music then. How's about fuse it? Well, anything. Music's a weird old thing, isn't it? Because people sample all sorts of shit and make it sound good. Mistakes being made, but all the players make mistakes, says Michael Jones. So yeah, we've covered that. We've done that. Right, okay, there's a couple of things I want to talk about quickly. Ryan Giggs has been trending on Twitter because apparently he's been racist, Islamophobic towards Paul Pogba. A lot of people are saying that on Twitter. I totally disagree with this. If you've not seen the clip, he's on some outlet. They show the post that Paul Pogba put up on New Year about watching a broadcast about the Quran, and I think he says there's no better way to start 2020, and the presenter sort of loads the question and says, what do you think about that? And Ryan Giggs says, well, I actually disagree. I think the best way to start 2020 is to be playing for Manchester United. Some people have put the Quran clip with what Giggs is saying and says it's disrespectful. I think we live in a world where people will find offence in a lot of things, and I'm not saying that those people who are offended by it are wrong. All I can say is that I watched it, and at no point did I think he was referring to being anti-Islam or racist or anything like that. I think Ryan Giggs was just a man who is a lot like a lot of the class of '92, not happy with Paul Pogba and wants to see him playing for Manchester United. I think you can leap and say that Giggs doesn't want Pogba at the club anymore because he pretty much said that, but I don't think you can start turning it into, you know, an ism or anything like that. I just didn't get that. I did get from the interview that he doesn't rate Pogba at the club, and I think that would be fair, but I don't think we need to turn it into anything more than that. And I don't think we need to turn it into anything anyway, because we pretty much know that the mainstream media and the ex-players are not fans of Martial and Pogba. They're always talking about Pogba and Martial. And as somebody who's a big fan of Martial and as somebody who's a big fan of Pogba, but I do agree Pogba should leave, this is nothing new to me. It's almost boring. It's irrelevant. I don't really listen to what these people have to say about Pogba and Martial anymore, because I think the agenda has become so big that even when people say something that makes sense, it gets lost in the agenda. So I think that I was talking to Flex about this today, actually, and with regards to Paul Pogba, I think the story's dead. I think it is, because he's going to leave in the summer. That is undisputable, and I've said that for a long time. He was never going to leave in January, and I've said that for a long time. And if he comes back in February, even if he comes back playing well, so what? We've only got him for 2 or 3 months more. And even if he gets injured again, so what? He's gone in the summer anyway. The big thing about Pogba is the club got it wrong last year. They should have sold him last year when he wanted to go, and they should have reinvested, and we would be a year further along this journey that we're meant to be on. The mistake by United was to arrogantly think that they could force a player to stay and then they would perform on the pitch. It's not worked out. We got it wrong, and yet again it just shows the naivety and inexperience football-wise running through the biggest club in the world. It's it's like Harrods, one of the most respected shops in the world, but when you walk in, they're selling cut price toilet roll and second hand bloody mops. We're just not the shop that we should be. Absolute Zero wants me to talk about Flex getting abuse at the match. Look, I'll be honest with you, it's been a bit of a funny day on Twitter. Twitter's a funny place anyway. I think one of the funniest things of 2019 was that we had an election in the UK where it was Labour against the Conservatives, it was Boris Johnson against Jeremy Corbyn, and in the month before the election, and if you took Twitter as real, you would have said Labour are going to absolutely take over the world and Jeremy Corbyn's going to be the universal Prime Minister, and they got the biggest beating they've ever had. But on Twitter, if you went against Labour or Corbyn, you got abused like nobody's business, and you just thought that was going to happen. So Twitter, you've got to take it with a pinch of salt anyway. But today, there's been a lot of abuse around the United stand again, because there was a clip on Wednesday night where Flex was trying to protect Saeed, who some United fans were trying to get at because he'd said on his fan cam last week that fans who slated Pogba are a disgrace. Well, I think Saeed's got an opinion there, and I think that's what this channel's all about. And I think that if people think that Saeed's wrong to say that, they should get on a camera and say why. They shouldn't be threatening violence and making a scene and having to be sent away by the police. That is hooliganism, and that is not what anybody wants to see. So my stance on this is, I think it's great that there's a division of opinion. Saeed thinks that people slating Pogba are a disgrace. There are also people out there that think Pogba's a disgrace. It's called a difference of opinion. It's called hello and welcome to planet Earth. Where it becomes a problem is where it becomes threatening and intimidating. And it seems to be the in thing at the moment to sort of attack fans for having an opinion that people don't agree with, and to try and make fan channels be the reason that United are shit on the pitch. All I would say is, I've been doing this for 5 years. I've been doing call-ins, the lot. We've got people on the live comments. I don't really care if people disagree with me. I think that's the whole point of a fan channel. It's opinion, and opinion can never be one down straight down the middle. You've got to have variance of opinion to make something interesting. But it can't be threatening of abuse, it can't be abusive, it can't be racist, it can't be fattist, it can't be sexist, it can't be homophobic. Opinion shows maturity if you can see somebody else's opinion and have a different one, but respect it and keep your own opinion. That's what it's all about. But the big thing for me is that Manchester United are enduring their worst start to a Premier League season. We're not spending the money we should do. We're nowhere near the club we should be. And United fans are arguing with each other. That's the thing that scares and saddens me. I don't like the fact that people are being threatened with physical harm or anything like that, but the authorities can deal with that, and those people will be dealt with, because you can't go around doing that. The thing that saddens me is that fans, yet again, and I've seen this a lot over the last 5 years, this top redism, this I'm better than youism, is prevalent again because people are disagreeing. And the reality is, whether you disagree or not, or whether you're Ollie in or not, or whether you're Pogba out or not, the club is not where it should be. And your frustration should be aimed at the club. And I'm not in a way where you're bloody ripping up seats or anything like that. I don't condone that either. But fighting amongst yourselves just allows those who are causing the problems to sit back and bring the money in. And that's what I would say about that. What's my opinion on Todd Cantwell transfer, says Sam Hewitt? Not for me. Abdullah says, I'm a Muslim. It's not disrespectful. He didn't mean anything bad. I think Giggsy's just as frustrated as is about Pogba. That was the way I read it, Abdullah. Look, if you were offended by it, I'm not saying you're wrong to be offended by it, because ultimately, with any of these things, it's not necessary. You know, if you are offended by it, then you've got to listen to those people who are offended by it. But I never sensed that Giggs was being disrespectful in that way. I think he was just talking in a footballing sense of his frustration with Paul Pogba not playing for United. Donnarumma is a replacement for De Gea if needed. Romero is a great backup, but not number one. Ray Cowley, I'll say straight away, and I'm sure some people are going to say it in the live comments, that Donnarumma is a client of Mino Raiola, so that's never going to happen. Sam David says, Mark, you are really a painkiller for United fans like me. At least speak about the club all day and cry about the transfer mess. At least, all right, see what he means there. Pogba will go in the summer. People saying who's going to buy him when he's injured. He'll go in the summer. He'll be fit in the summer. He'll be fit in the summer. On Angel Gomez and Tahith Chong, they won't sign new contracts. I'm not going to depress people on a Friday night. I think we've had a fantastic show. I think it's been absolutely amazing. And remember, we are live every night at 8 o'clock. Any transfer news will be live. Monday to Friday, we've got the Transfer Daily, 7 a.m. We've got some new shows coming up for you, which I'm really excited about over the next couple of weeks. Flex is going to start on Monday on Instagram doing a daily Q&A at midday. And we'll be live tomorrow with the watch along fan cams as usual. So loads to get involved in. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new. But what I would say is this. Angel Gomez and Tahith Chong, if you're worried about us signing players, there is a very real risk that United could lose Gomez and Chong any time, because they're free to talk to clubs outside of this country. So they could sign pre-contract agreements with Juventus, Barcelona, PSG, whoever. I'm yet again not surprised, but embarrassed and pissed off with Manchester United Football Club's policy of letting players run their contract down to a point where we lose power. Herrera walked out the club. Now, whatever you think about Herrera, and I don't think anybody now thinks that Herrera leaving was a good idea. There was a few people like Rants who said, I'm not bothered, we'll get somebody better in, and we didn't. But Herrera walking out the door, whatever you thought of him, and I thought he was immense for us, that was 25 million walking out the door as well, because he was worth 25 million at least of anybody's money. We've got this stupid policy of letting contracts run down, and it doesn't get spoken about enough. And Gomez and Chong, I tell you what, if you're Juventus, you're PSG, you're Dortmund, you're Bayern Munich, you're Inter Milan, you're Real Madrid, you're Valencia, I can name 30 clubs across Europe that they will be looking at that and going, well, Gomez and Chong, they're worth a try. They might not work, but there's a lot of United fans who think they're decent and they're available for free. We've allowed a ridiculous situation to create itself again. We're run so badly. We're run so badly, it's a joke. It's almost, you think, is this sabotage? It's a joke. Recruitment, retention, contract renewals, it's a joke. The wages we pay, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, Thanks everyone for watching. We're back again tomorrow. We'll have it's a 5:30 kickoff, so we'll be live at 4:30 UK time. Wolves against United. We're back playing. The cycle continues again. Will there be any transfer news over the weekend? We'll certainly go live if it does. Thanks everyone for watching. I just want to say tonight, for some reason, I was buzzing to go get in with the show, and I think it's been a fast-paced, energetic show. But I can't do that if I'm not getting it back from you lot. And I've seen the live comments. It's been buzzing. White Owl says he's given up hope. The club we loved is gone. It's never gone because we're never going to go. You never give up hope. Manchester United is about belief. We're in a bloody mess at the moment. That is a fact, but we never give up hope. But yeah, thanks everyone tonight. You've been absolutely superb. I love the community we've built. I love these sort of shows. Every now and again, you just hit a groove, and I think tonight we did. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, bottom right-hand corner. Smash a like on the video, and I'll see you all tomorrow. And massive thanks to you. It's been a fantastic show. Speak to you soon.